one of the most important things that I learned from selling weed from 20 to when I was almost 27 years old, maybe 27 years old, was the fact that I wasn't beholden to anyone. I didn't have a boss. I was not living within the normal constraints of society. And that allowed me to do a lot of dumb stuff, make a lot of mistakes. I mean, one could argue that the whole thing was a mistake. I mean, on paper, it doesn't look very good. I had no resume. On paper, I couldn't be like, oh, I've just been selling weed and getting drunk essentially from 20 to 27. Um, you know, what would have looked better is if I didn't drop out of college and graduated from college, got a job, was contributing to my 401k and all that type of shit. But I didn't do it. And the thing that I learned from this was that most people, all the time, seems like to me, is people are, I don't think people know how to tell the truth. Like, everything seems to be communicated through the lens of what is acceptable as opposed to what is a truth. Like when I'm speaking to someone, what if I are having a back and forth? It's like, what is the what can I say that they're going to perceive as acceptable? What is within the realm of acceptability? What is within the Overton window of this conversation? And one of the things that's happening right now is that the Overton window, writ large, if that's applicable here, that term, is that it is being kind of smashed, probably largely due to Kanye with his Super Bowl ad. But I realized like I didn't have to worry about getting fired. The only thing I had to worry about was getting arrested, which I didn't even really worry about that much. And that allowed me to, now I was off track during this time, but I developed a habit of basically being able to say whatever I wanted. And I think that doing that for that long, as opposed to just being like, oh, how does this look good for college and my resume and for employers and that type of stuff, I was able to just think, like I had my own ideas. I mean, my ideas were wrong, but they were my own. And I was able to just say whatever I wanted. And that put me, I was very aligned within myself and my life in terms of like, I was able to really act out what I believed, which is like, I got to a place of nihilism, was able to act like it. I wasn't breaking the law all the time. I was acting like a degenerate. And, but that there was like a truth to it, and that kind of has held over and stayed with me. With just being able to just say the truth in situations where it's not necessarily the most socially acceptable, politically correct thing. Now, there's all sorts of obvious ones that have now become grifted upon, if you will. A lot of grifters have attached to them. But I mean, seriously, like, I think, in a sense, there is only one religion. There's only one true religion, and that is the truth. And to follow that religion is just to speak the truth. And a lot of people will say, it's like, oh, well, there is no objective truth. Well, is that true? And that type of shit. But you can just speak the truth of, it's like, oh, my jacket is black. I love you. I act like it. These things, it's like, how would you know if it's true if I said I love you? Well, if I'm saying it to my wife and she's like, I love you too. And if you could ask her, she's like, do you think your husband loves you? And she says, yes. Well, then maybe it's true. This truth is fact, this truth is as function. And I think so many things would just be corrected if people just started speaking the truth. I mean, first, you have to see the truth, which is much easier said than done. But if people just got together and it's just like, the obvious one now, men aren't women. You're not a man, you're not a woman. We're not going to do that anymore. Equality, that's not a thing. There's men and women aren't equal. People aren't equal. Be equal before God, but not equal on earth. I'm not equal to LeBron James in many ways. I mean, equality is really, it means like the same in many ways. They want things to be like this, but they're not. I mean, people don't actually want equality, and there's no instance in life anywhere that you can point to equality existing. It doesn't exist in nature. Like, there's no equal. It is as much a phantom as anything else is. to other people who don't believe in God, but they believe in equality. Um, Food. There's so much things in food that we call food that's not food. Stop calling non-food food. Seed oils, shouldn't be eating them. There's plenty of stuff that you just shouldn't be eating. It's not food. You're fat. Stop being fat. If people just said the truth, like that's just like things would change. And if you decided to be like, I'm gonna stick to my guns on this thing. I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna beat you over the head with it necessarily, but I'm not gonna back down either. Women shouldn't be in the military. Why? Because you guys are weaker than men, and women are more valuable than men. I mean, it takes 9, 10 months to grow a child. It's an incredible, wonderful thing. My wife is pregnant. I thank her all the time for growing our son. I say, baby, thank you. I love you. Now, the concept of her joining the military, like, run out there with guns is absurd. If she was like, hey, I want to go be a cop, no way. And it's not because I'm controlling, it's because I love her. Never, ever. I would work 24/7 if I could, if that was like a binary. Oh, become a cop or join a military or be a firefighter or something. It's like, no, I'll go pump gas nights and weekends before that had to happen. And that's because I love her. So I don't believe in equality there. That's nonsensical. Likewise, I don't think women should be leaders because I think leaders are out in front. And what happens to leaders sometimes is they get shot, literally and figuratively. Leaders deal with like a lot of bad stuff. Like think about the leader, the first guy out of the gate, who wiped his ass with poison ivy. Think about the people that had to learn the hard way that poison ivy is not good, all natural toilet paper. And that's a leader. He's like, you want to what? I don't know about that. I'm gonna try it. Now he's an itchy asshole. Something a little more practical, leaders. I'm reading this book about the Crusades. It talks about this guy, whatever his name is, Ferdinand III, some guy. He's the king. He was the first man over the wall. They attacked a castle, a walled city, whatever the heck, whatever the H. This dude is the king. He was the leader. He was at the front line, and he was the first over the wall. He said he was covered in blood, been fighting, killing people, battling. He was the first over the wall. Leaders of nations used to do that. They used to ride out at the front. Imagine Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Putin, Merkel. These people leading the charge. Zelensky and Putin fighting in the front lines. Yeah, right. What's his name? Netanyahu. He's kicking in doors in Gaza. We'd have a very different society if that's what our leaders were doing. If it was true, like leaders lead. Go out there, lead the way, buddy. You guys want to go to Afghanistan? You want to sign your name and drop bombs in Gaza? Go over there. You go do it. Just say the truth. Like, I don't like I don't care about democracy. I don't think it's not a thing that I want to uphold. I mean, I prefer a godliness over democratic elections. In abstract, I'm not advocating for a monarchy per se, but hypothetically, what's better, a good king or a corrupt democracy? Because our democracy is terribly corrupt. You just say the truth. I don't think women should be able to vote. Like, I'm not just trying to say controversial things, but I'm saying if you just say the truth, you just say it. Stop trying to say what you think is okay. And you say the truth. That's what you're supposed to do. And it's actually, just try it. I don't think women should be able to vote because that is an authority. You have an authority. Each vote controls the direction of the nation. But one of the things that comes with the responsibility of being a citizen, being part of a nation, is that it has to be defended. So men could, men had the vote. Yeah, it was terrible oppression, but it's the same reason why when the Titanic went down, it's like the men stayed on the ship and the women and children get in the lifeboats, because women and children are more valuable. And men voted because one of the parts of being a man in society was that you had to go off and die. You had to go fight to protect the nation. I don't want women doing that. I don't want my wife doing that. I don't want my daughter going off to war. It's not because I don't like women. It's because I love the women in my life. That's saying the truth. I feel like I'm starting to kind of sound like a douche, but I mean, there's these things that are prevalent in our society that have just become so normalized that people don't even notice them anymore. But if you just start noticing and speaking up, then they'll go away. Because the truth is the truth. And the truth is correct. And the truth brings life, and falsehoods lead to death.